A call to conversion. The current COVID-19 represents yet another call to spiritual conversion, not only for Christians, but also for men and women. Many of us have had the experience of being seriously ill at some point in our lives, or even just having a well-founded fear of being sick. If we didn't give in to panic, we experienced a period that marked us spiritually, usually in a positive way. We realized that things and projects that seemed so important to us were ultimately contingent and transitory, that there are things that pass away and things that last. Above all, we became more aware of our fragility. We felt small before the world and before the great mystery of God. We realized that our destiny is only partly in our hands, even though medicine and science can do many wonderful things. To use an ancient word, we became more humble. We also prayed more. We became more sensitive and attentive in our relationships with others. We were more grateful for their attention and for their human and spiritual closeness. But then, as our strength returned and the risk was overcome, these attitudes may gradually have diminished, and we may have returned more or less to how we were before, sure of ourselves, concerned above all with our own plans and with immediate satisfaction, less attentive to finer things and to our relationships. And prayer returned to once again sidelines of our lives. In some ways, we must recognize that in sickness we had become better, and that when we became strong, we soon returned to forgetting God. Some of us didn't. The COVID-19 is a widespread and shared illness, and I, as a doctor of public health, can assure you it is here to stay, just as once upon a time what we now refer to as the seasonal or annual flu, for which we have an annual vaccination cycle. At one point, this was a monster, killing almost 1 million in the US alone every year. But that many lives, plus 32% more, are saved by vaccination every year. 32% being the lowest effective rate ever recorded for the vaccine. The average effective vaccination rate is 45%. Yes, that's part of some of the crap I studied. It comes in the hemispherical winter, taking the instruction on which vaccination to order by what is happening in the other half of the world. Ironically, we of the North can say, it starts in Oceania. For the alteration of the virus from A to A plus to B to B plus, whichever is chosen by their bodies, does occur somewhere between cessation in the Northern Hemisphere in about mid-April and the start in the Southern Hemisphere in about mid-June. From the ending of our virus up here to the start of their virus down there, it changes. It's a common experience of incredible and unexpected fragility. It puts into question many aspects of our lives and of our world that we had taken for granted. This causes great suffering and upheaval. But it is only an evil. But is it only an evil, or is it also an opportunity. In the preaching of both John the Baptist and the Lord Jesus, there is a word that occurs frequently and forcefully: convert. It is not a word we like. It questions us and frightens us because we sense that it is not an innocent term. Throughout the whole of Lent, which was accompanied by the start of the COVID-19 story from the beginning, what an extraordinary coincidence in our Christian life. We have heard and felt the call to conversion. We have heard the great penitential prayers of the Old Testament, Esther, Azariah, etc., and the prophetic cries that have always interpreted the misfortunes and sufferings of the people as a strong call to conversion, to return to God. We must not see the misfortunes of the world in which so many innocent people are involved, and as a punishment from a vengeful God. At the same time, we must not be so naive and superficial as not to realize the human responsibility intertwined with what happens, and not to remember that the history of humankind is steeped from the beginning in the consequences of sin. If this were not the case, what need was there for Jesus to die in order to lead us and all creation back to God? Sooner or later, this COVID-19 will reduce to its minimum ratio or contagion rate after this initial very high cost. It will become part of our annual lives with vax to support our immunity systems. And this new vaccination is designed for long-term purpose, which the previous ones were not, and to work hand in glove with all later supplements created if there occurs any that require a subgroup injection. We're all in a great hurry right now, and we're all longing for it to be over. We want to start again, to get back on the right track. This is only normal. Solidarity obliges us to hope that the weakest among us will be spared further pain. Hope urges us to look forward, and charity must be industrious. But will we be converted, at least a little? Or will we immediately begin to tread the same path as before, forgetting God, forgetting everything but our need for immediate satisfaction? A fundamental Christian understanding of the encyclical Laudate Si tells us that in order to answer the great questions about humanity's future, we must recognize that we are created beings, that the world is not our possession, but it is rather a gift, that we cannot think of dominating it and exploiting it as we wish, or else we will destroy it and ourselves with it. Only on the base of greater humility before God can reason and science build and not destroy. We want to start again quickly. We say that many things will change. Horse crap. Perhaps we think we have learned many lessons. Who knows? Maybe we have. But I know that there's nothing learned yet in the United States about the healthcare system and the school systems and the digital realm and its possibilities. Even medical science will make further progress. But until they stop using untested devices and untested drugs to where they are required to be tested and proven effective and cost-effective, this medical system, such that it is a system, will continue to fail. If you remember, these companies needed to prove before the world that these vaccinations were effective, before they could be put to use on the humans of the world population. They also needed to show the costs. They didn't need to show the costs to humanity, though, so they are not cost effective. They are merely not as costly to the government. Mostly, we seem to think of answers primarily in technical terms, in terms of greater efficiency and organizational rationality. That is all well and good. But COVID-19 is also a call to deeper spiritual conversion. A call not only for Christian faithful, but also for all men and women who remain creatures of God, even when they do not remember Him. A better life in our common home, at peace with all creatures, at peace with all others, with God, and a rich life in meaning requires conversion.